Good evening and welcome to Dollars and Cents. My name is Tom Connolly. I've been in the financial services industry for the past 10 years, working for Fidelity Investments and John Hancock Financial Services. Tonight, the topic we'll be discussing will be long-term care planning and estate planning. I have with me an invited guest, Alex Moschella. He is an adjunct professor at Suffolk Law School, teaching elderly law affairs. He's the past president of the Mass Chapter of Elderly Law Attorneys. And Alex has his practice in Somerville. And what I'd hope to do is to ask Alex tonight is to tell us a little bit about his background and what he does to service the seniors.
Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Elder law is one of the fastest and emerging areas of law practice that has happened, I think, in the 90s, and it's given me a lot of satisfaction to have elderly families and the children of elderly families take me in their confidence around their concerns and what's on their mind in terms of protecting their assets, their hopes and fears of wanting to stay at home, protecting the family home, a whole host of issues that come up in the context of, what happens after I'm gone? Should I avoid probate? Should I have living trusts? How can I pay for a skilled nursing home care? God forbid I end up in a nursing home. And as you know, the fastest growing segment of our population in the 90s is the elderly. And it's funny as they try to classify and label us all, and I don't like labels, as I know you don't, but as I approach 50, they say I'm the youth of old age. Once you hit the magic number of 60, you are considered, you get all the freebies and the early bird specials and all of the benefits that go with hitting the magic golden year, so to speak. But they consider 60 as the point where you're entitled to certain benefits. And when you're in your 70s, I think that's where the real issues of estate planning comes in. People want to transfer their assets to the next generation. And I have found that the elderly, the four corners of their hopes and dreams are their family home, the contents of their home, their autonomy to drive their car and have their independence, and passing on their wealth and their possessions to their children. And that's the biggest struggle in terms of working with families around those issues. And the fastest growing elderly population is what's considered the oldest of the old because of the healthcare technology. Those that are 85 and older are considered the fastest growing population. And I see many, many clients who really are very independent, that are 85 and over, who are really concerned about, God forbid something happens to me and I have to go into a nursing home, which is their worst case scenario. How do I pay for the cost of that at $5,000 to $6,000 a month? What can I do now to plan to transfer assets? Should I transfer assets? Should I transfer the family home to my kids? Should I create a living trust so that after I die my estate isn't tied up with a probate court and you have to pay legal fees and get the involvement of the court? So elder law is really taken off in terms of it's involved with asset protection, it's involved with long-term care insurance, should people work with financial planners like yourself and a lawyer as a team effort to plan their estate, and what can you do now while someone is healthy to avoid the crisis and the emergency? God forbid a family member has a stroke or Alzheimer's sets in and they're in a situation where they have to apply for government benefits, Medicaid, to pay for a nursing home. And a lot of questions on home health care come up. What can be done to have a family stay at home? What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? And this gets very complex, as you know, in terms of if you have to apply for certain benefits. So elder law has taken on that dimension of dealing with the needs of an aging population and the children who oftentimes want to get information and advice for their elderly parents. Who is the client? Is it the children or is it the elder? And it really is the elder, and my loyalty is to the elder, not so much to satisfying the children's needs, which might be a little bit of conflict with the elder who wants to do certain things.
I want to mention a case. I got a call today, this morning in my office, and a client that I had sold long-term care to in April And they were hesitant, well, can we get around the system? And they were nervous about, well, they probably had an estate of $700,000, and this woman wanted to make sure her children were able to, keep the estate together, not lose the home, and so forth.
Right.
And so we were able to do some kind of protecting, and she didn't have to give up her assets because she purchased long-term care coverage. But the call today was, what do we have to do to submit a claim? Because this individual, age 75, has ended up with a sciatic nerve problem and currently cannot stand. Mm-hmm. And the question I have for you is, let's say that person did not have any kind of a long-term care protection, and what kind of an estate range does somebody need, to seek out legal counsel to say, well, how do I protect my life savings?
Oh, that's a good question, because I see the typical elderly family that I see in the Metro Boston area, and we really have a community-based law firm. I moved out of Boston after 10 years of having a Boston practice simply because it was inaccessible to the elders. The elders want to feel as though you can either come to their home or that you're accessible, and downtown Boston was just a little bit too detached and isolated. And I'm finding more and more families that fit that, maybe not so much that $700,000 income level, but they have a single or two-family home in the Metro Boston area, whether it's Arlington, or Winchester, Cambridge, that might be valued at, say, $250,000. They have assets maybe of $100,000 to $200,000 of savings, CDs. And as you know, because of the interest rate going down on CDs, the interest income they have now has gone down dramatically. And they're oftentimes either have a small pension from they're retired from their employer, mm-hmm. and they have Social Security. Yep. And they're concerned about holding on to what they have. And their wish is to be able to make sure that their family home is protected, that if one of them took ill and they had to go in a nursing home, that their whole estate isn't wiped out. And that's where we get into the whole rules of the game. Many families will come to me when one or the children will say, my father took sick and he's in a hospital, and they're saying he can't be discharged back to the home. He needs total care. He can't live independently anymore. And that's rather unfortunate, because you would hope that home health care and other alternatives would be in place so that someone could live independently at home, because most elders, their worst fear is to be in a nursing home. It's not their home.
Absolutely.
It's an institution. Yeah. It's not just the cost of it. That's the last place that they want to go as a matter of dignity and their own individuality. So you get involved with very difficult questions as to most of their health care plans. They're on Medicare, which is a federal program, and they have what's called MedX, or Part B Medicare coverage, and that will cover hospital care, but it will only cover up to, at best, 100 days of nursing home care if it's medically related. So most of the time, when someone needs nursing home care, it's for custodial care, not for medical reasons. And Medicare, the federal program, or even the supplemental carrier, Blue Cross, or whatever their carrier is not going to pay for the nursing home care. And the question then becomes, as they go through this planning, what can we do to transfer our assets? What can we do to be eligible for the state program, Medicaid? And unless they have a long-term care insurance policy, and as you know, long-term care insurance is a very new product. I think it's appropriate for many families, but many people do not know the coverage, the benefits of long-term care insurance, what an annual premium costs, what assets it will protect, because when you have a long-term care policy in place, it avoids the state from putting any liens on the family home. It also offers some other benefits, but many families don't feel as though they would want to pay the monthly cost of a premium, which can average anywhere from a low of $1,500 to a high of $3,500, depending on the benefits and the age and all of those variables that you have all the expertise in. So we really get involved with the fears that the elders have as to, if I apply for Medicaid, what happens? And it's a very complex, cumbersome process, because they look back at all accounts that have been opened or closed for 30 months. They have what they call qualifying and disqualifying transfers, where, for example, if you gave away $10,000 or $20,000 of your assets, you just want to give your grandkids a gift, and within 30 months you apply for Medicaid, they would say that's a disqualifying transfer, because the presumption is you only transfer that money to be eligible for Medicaid. And many elders will tell me, oh, that was the last thing in my mind. I wanted to make a gift. I wanted to pass on my wealth to my next generation, and this is America. Why shouldn't I be able to give away my property?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got the state looking over their shoulder saying, no, you can't transfer something within 30 months of applying for Medicaid. And sometimes we have to argue and file appeals and hearings with the state. But the overview of Medicaid is that there are things you can and can't do. There are assets that you can keep and can't keep. They have what's called countable assets, which is, you know, say that typical family has a couple $100,000 in the bank of joint assets, and the husband has to apply for nursing home care. Well, it's unfortunate that they'll say the at-home spouse can keep what's called a community spouse resource amount of no more than $76,000 approximately. Then the rest of that money is a private pay, spend down, where until her husband hits $2,000, he will have to pay all of his costs of his nursing home. And once he has $2,000 in his name, then he is eligible for applying for Medicaid, the state program, and they will pay the cost of the long-term care, absent a long-term care policy. So an elder is very concerned about, well, should I give away my money now? Should I transfer assets? Should I set up a trust? Should I avoid probate? Should I deed the house to my children and maybe preserve a life estate interest, which is a right to live there all my life? And some of these issues are complex. Some of them are things that are very personal to different families. And the children oftentimes have their view of matters. And I try to really make sure that you separate the children from the parents at some point. And I think it's great that the children will be involved in these meetings and discussions with the lawyers. But at some point, you have to establish with the elder what is their comfort zone. What is it that they really want to do with their savings and their assets? And how can you protect the elder so that if they're transferring money to a son or daughter, my feeling, and based on my experience, is that every elder should have at least a sufficient amount of money in reserve that they could private pay at least 3 to 6 months for a nursing home, because that gives you some leverage and clout to go out and bargain to a nursing home. Nursing homes are not supposed to discriminate based on someone's income level to get into a nursing home. But as you and I know in the real world, if you have private assets can pay for 3 to 6 months, you have more likelihood of getting the nursing home of choice. And the elders are very concerned about what happens if I can't make medical decisions. I can't tell the doctors what I would want.
Dual power of attorneys and
healthcare proxies. And in all situations, I recommend there be a healthcare proxy in place where one son or daughter has the authority to make medical decisions, or the husband and wife, each other has the authority to make medical decisions, and then there's a backup. And as you mentioned, the durable power of attorney is so important so that in case the elder can't pay bills or can't manage their finances, while you're alive, you've named someone to be an agent in the event you're incompetent, and that person can then act for you as an agent to sign checks, to go to the bank. It avoids having to get guardianships and delays in the probate court. So there are essential things that I think every elder and every family should be thinking of. Healthcare proxies, durable power of attorneys, maybe a living trust, which is simply you transfer assets to a trust now, and you can get the income from the trust, and you have a trustee so that when you die, you don't have to go through probate. And then the question of Medicaid planning. Some families feel strongly about it. Others feel as though I have the assets, and if I ever had to go into a nursing home, well, the money is there, and that's what it's for. And it's really a matter of personal beliefs, convictions, and values. And I find many elders, though, particularly as you know, the spouses, women, the actuarial charts say will outlive the men significantly, and you need to be very concerned about the at-home spouse, which is often the woman, having enough income, having enough assets. And Medicaid says that there's a minimum monthly maintenance needs allowance that at-home spouse is entitled to receive, which can't exceed, the average is $1,300. It can't be over $1,800. So you really need to look at, can the elder person live on that income?
Does that include earnings from a bond fund or a tax-exempt fund? that dividend interest?
Yes, they would compute all of that, and the excess income, as you know, would go to the nursing home, but for $60 for personal needs allowance. So the at-home spouse, the wife, could keep up to $1,800. The rest goes to the nursing home. And that's where issues of annuities come into play, where you can transfer certain money to purchase an annuity, and it's not a countable asset for Medicaid purposes. And I think there's a real need for information, which is wonderful for you to be bringing this program to elder citizens to think about, what is an annuity? How does it work? And you know that area well yourself. But
well, growing up in Winchester here, and the reason why I want the format of a community show is to give something back to the town itself, being a graduate of the high school and doing business here for the past decade, personal financial planning and so forth. And a lot has to do with education. What I've done today is wanted to share with you, why I brought the subject of long-term care to the Winchester community. Growing up and having a chance to work at the Swanton Street Nursing Home and knowing of the Aberdeen Nursing Home, the Winchester Gables, the Senior Center.
Those are excellent facilities.
That we have in the community here. And it really does, it can really hit home some of these issues. So, why am I trying to do a little bit, more work in this is there's quite an explosion and people, beyond the age of 65. And what I've done here is I've put together a sort of a graphical illustration, if I can get to that information here. If we take a look at 1985, there were about 30 million Americans over the age of 65. What they're projecting by the year 2030 is that there'll be double that number, 60 million Americans over the age of 65. Currently, there are 45,000 Americans over the age of 100 today. We know that a lot of the programs that the government has in place, our Medicare and our Medicaid system, are going to be drained by this population of explosion. Currently, family members have more parents their children today have more parents than children themselves, and we're going to see that number continue to grow in the future. Why are people, growing and living to later on in life? Is due to certain factors of the aging of America. If we take a look at the turn of the century, I think the average lifespan was to age 35. Now today it's about age 80. So there's the elimination of contagious diseases. The medical technology today would be obsolete just 5 years ago. The constant breakthroughs in medicine. And people are starting to understand the role of diet and exercising as health habits. So that's why there are a lot more people feeding off our social programs. When we talk about long-term care planning, as we had mentioned earlier, the cost of a nursing home, I would say in Winchester we're probably looking at $5,000 a month. But on a national average, it can range anywhere from $20,000 to $80,000. Nobody wants to deal with the fact that they could enter a nursing home, but people would look for the quality of having a home health care service. And a home health care service can range anywhere from $75 to $10 per hour. Alex had briefly talked about Medicare. Medicare is at age 65. It's a federally funded program. In addition to Medicare, we're going to break down what does Medicare pay what does Medicare pay for long-term care? Then we have Medicare supplemental insurance, and just this morning I was filling out a form for an individual who had picked up a Medicare supplement package very similar to the Medix Gold program, but they've been able to do some shopping around and found coverages a little bit more cost effective. Then we have the Medicaid system, and that's for somebody who has gone through and spent all their assets down to, I guess, a threshold of $2,000 in their name. Then they're eligible for a welfare program, and nobody wants to go through and put the money aside over the lifetime and end up being on a welfare state through Medicaid. There's been talk through the Clinton administration about health care reform, but that certainly is changing as we see the new leadership in Congress right now. The Republicans getting in there, and there doesn't seem to be any talk about universal health care. Other options for long-term care planning is to end up going through your own personal savings. And the last one would be long-term care insurance. Why not Medicare? Why would you look to having the resource of Medicare to fund for your long-term care illness? Well, there's certain rules and regulations that the government puts forth. You must have a hospital stay, and that hospital stay must be for 3 days or longer. Within that hospital stay, you have to enter a nursing home within 30 days. And you must have a skilled care, which is 24-hour daily care under a doctor's recommendations. The facility that you end up going to for Medicare would be, quote, a skilled nursing facility, and less than half of the nursing home facilities meet that guideline. In addition to that, and the toughest part about it, your illness has to be restorative, and meaning that that situation you have to be getting healthier in a restorative situation. Why not Medicare? Medicare, it's hard to remember all these things here. Medicare approval days. Medicare pays for 100% of the costs after the deductible for the first 20 days. After day 21 to day 100, there's an $87 a day deductible. This is as of 1994. And after 100 days, there's no care picked up under Medicare. So looking towards the government for taking care of your long-term care needs is not a good solution. As we take a look at the levels of care, if we walk through a nursing home, less than 0.5% of the people in a nursing home are receiving any kind of benefits through a Medicare system because it's due to a skilled care situation. Why not Medicare supplements? Simply because that is only picking up deductibles and co-insurance that you have on Medicare Part A and Part B. Sources to pay for long-term care, as we see here on this slide, Medicare is only paying for 1/2 of 1%, and we see here that the population ends up paying for about 52% of the care out of their own pocket. So they have to spend down until they get on a Medicare type of a program, which is a welfare situation. So that's what I'm here to address today. When you sit down with your typical client, Alex, how familiar are most people with what they need to be doing with Medicare Part A, Part B, the myths about what the government will do for them. Are people pretty knowledgeable, or is it just that they're too busy in their life and they figure that the government is going to take care of that for them? Or
it's a good question, Tom. Many times they're very confused. The first time they've seen a lawyer is in this crisis situation. They haven't done much planning to begin with. Maybe it's at the urging of the son and daughter who have set up the appointment, who are bringing the mother and father in. And it's usually in a crisis situation, unfortunately. I mean, I think that's why this show is important, to get people to think that the time to do this is now, while they're healthy, while there's no crisis, and they can really take a look at setting some goals. Do they want to transfer some assets while they're alive? And that's a pretty big decision. For example, there's two kinds of trusts, revocable and irrevocable. An irrevocable one, you give up total control and you're giving up your asset. There are some benefits to doing that for Medicaid purposes. If you're planning for a nursing home, that you might be able to get some protection if 36 months go by and this money is in a trust. But even those rules have changed. And I have found that it's getting more complex and difficult for people to transfer their assets. But if you do it early on, there are some very creative things that can be done. People can get involved with a gift-giving plan, as you know. You can give $10,000 tax-free to as many individuals as you wish. And many families want to do that. Many elders would like to pay for college tuition for a grandchild, or fund a gift to minors trust for a minor grandson or granddaughter. They want to do these kind of things if they have the information. And I find that they come to me greatly confused about, well, gee, my estate is modest. Do I really need to have wills and trusts? They think that's for rich people, so to speak. But I think all families can benefit from these kinds of issues, as far as, do I need a will? Do I need a trust? Do I need to protect my family home by transferring out of my name, by preserving a life estate interest? And families have to get this information, think about it, and then have their own comfort zone addressed by, I'm comfortable with transferring some assets. I'm comfortable with the use of trusts. And I find the more we give information out, the more elders can ask questions, talk to their family, feel free that they can call a lawyer, not feel intimidated, that you can have an attorney that you can talk with, that they can make very meaningful decisions and do some very good things to plan for the future. It's when crisis comes up that all of a sudden someone needs a nursing home placement and they want to give away money to a son or daughter. Then you have the state looking over your shoulder. But there's a lot of confusion in this area, as you know.
For the viewing public today, if you have any questions, Alex law firm is Metro Elder Disability Law over in Somerville. I'm asking for your support here in the community, if I can be a resource to you. I'm active with the Winchester Chamber of Commerce, and I can be reached there to answer any of your questions, or really take the anxiety out of your life that you're facing with the fact that we are aging in society here. And if you end up in a nursing home or need care at home, you can go through your life savings. And I know it's 1 out of 1,200 people end up having the house burned down in a year's time, and about 2 out of every 5 people will end up having to spend money for their long-term care needs. The shows that I want to be offering in the future, we'll be talking about certainly this issue. Next month I hope to host a show that will be talking about college financial planning. That will address, well, what do I need to do to get my financial aid, my federal forms, what do I need to send into the school, what are my time deadlines, where do I go out and seek to find where the scholarship money may be. So I'll have a specialist in that area that I do work with, and we can offer those kind of information to them. The following month I'll have a former IRS auditor, and we'll be talking about tax planning. So I want to thank you this evening for coming to watch the new show in town here called Dollars and Cents. And my name is Tom Connolly, and I want to thank you, Alex,
it was a pleasure,
for coming to do the show tonight.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.